Flannery O'Connor and the Problem of Nihilism. Flannery O'Connor is an intellectual writer and a devout believer. Her fiction, several novels and a slew of short stories, concerns the problem of nihilism, and this is especially true of the violent bear it away. By the problem of nihilism, I mean both the problem of nihilism as a system of thought and the problem of nihilism as something that admits in human action. Nihilism leads to senseless violence and humanitarian dreams that admit in or countenance sensible violence. Nihilism is the most important part of the setting for O'Connor. If you live today, she writes in one of her letters, you breathe in nihilism. In or out of the church, it's in the gas you breathe. End quote. Let me try to explain what Flannery O'Connor means by nihilism in several layers. First, nihilism views religious belief, morality, and transcendence generally as merely social conventions or inventions or delusions of the mind. None of that higher stuff is defensible by human reason, nor explicable by genuine revelation. In this, nihilism resembles the ancient school of thought known as conventionalism, the view that all visions of justice or morality are conventional. Modern nihilism is much more radical, however, than the ancient conventionalism because of its second aspect, its embrace of nothingness. This will require a longer explanation. Nihilism means nothingism. Nihil is Latin for zero or nothing. Think of the claim that God made the world out of nothing. This is known as creation ex nihilo, ex out of nihilo, nothing. So nihilism means nothingness. What does nothingness mean? I think it has two aspects for O'Connor. Nothingness means what it means for all those familiar with modern nihilism. It means that behind all alleged meanings, there is an abyss or a shadow that prevents us from ever seeing the light. While I am loath to oversimplify, let me say that this means that there is no God standing behind the things of the world, lending meaning to the things of the world. There is no providential order. We are, as Martin Heidegger held, thrown objects, and there is an accidental, absurd character to life. The second central aspect of nihilism concerns the problem of suffering, or the problem of evil, or the problem of pain. This also brings forth the ultimate character of nihilism, I believe. What comes first, goodness or evil? The Christian position is that good is primary, because God is first. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, says the first words of John, the most important and most philosophical of the Gospels. God created the world out of nothing. He did not create the world out of evil, or out of corrupted stuff, or out of stuff. He made all that he made, and if he made it, it was good. This is the Christian position. Nihilists find the Christian position intolerable because they believe that evil exists in the world. The existence of evil is used as proof that God either is not good or that he is not sovereign. As the old saying goes, if God is God, he is not good. If God is good, then he is not God. This is surely at work in The Violent Bear It Away. One of the characters, Rayber, refuses to believe in God because his child was born slow and retarded. This child proves, to Rayber's satisfaction, that the universe is undirected flux, the product of absurd or meaningless chance. No one has sponsored this waste of genetic code, or so Rayber thinks. O'Connor reminds us in this context of the great challenge to faith Ivan Karamazov poses in Dostoevsky's Brothers Karamazov. Ivan challenges the pious Alyosha to explain a litany of evils and miseries. Turkish soldiers cutting out babies from the wombs of pregnant mothers, parents sticking excrement in the mouth of a child as punishment for bedwetting, a Russian officer who incited wolves to tear a child to pieces. You can read all this for yourself in Brothers K and the Grand Inquisitor. What is crucial here is that none of these cruelties or miseries are explicable, or if they were explicable, none would be justifiable. None would be justifiable. That is the key. Take only the example of impaled babies from Ivan's list. If this evil was, as Christianity in a sense holds, the product of the human abuse of their Edenic freedom, it is hard to fathom how the screams of a child being impaled is a fit punishment for that original abuse. If, as modern thinkers such as Hegel and Marx hold, that a more perfected order will, unconsciously at least, come from the outrages and idiocies of history, it is hard to see how any end could justify these cruel means. Nor is the view that those who perpetrated these crimes will get theirs in the afterlife any solace. It does nothing to restore the murdered child to life, nor to console the mother. The existence of evil is proof of nothingness and tells against the priority of the good for nihilists. As a consequence of this nothingness, the world is just sitting there, waiting for order, and that order can be brought by human beings through their projects. Modern technology or modern politics can define the world and rearrange its parts according to human will. Now, this is the implication of nihilism. It seems to open a great vista for human freedom and creativity. Human beings can make their own meanings and make their own standards of good and bad or good and evil. Authentic selfhood depends on complete independence and self-sufficiency. As the stranger says to Tarwater in one of the early dialogues in The Violent Bear It Away, it ain't Jesus or the devil, it's Jesus or you. How do you prove the authenticity of oneself? Perhaps through a careless or callous disregard toward others, perhaps through a malevolent hostility toward others, perhaps through using others towards one's own ends, perhaps by building a great society, without concern about the eggs one breaks when building that omelet. As you read The Violent Bear It Away, ask yourself these questions. Which characters most represent this nihilism? How does nihilism shape the characters? What action does it lead them into? And finally, and most importantly, which characters reject nihilism and why?